Welcome back to Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, and on this segment of the program, we are going to learn about the Community Affairs Unit of the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. And here to detail that unit for us is Morris County Prosecutor Robert Bianchi. Prosecutor Bianchi has been in that position since June of 2007, and we're happy to have him on this segment of the program. Welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Before we get to the Community Affairs Unit of the Prosecutor's Office, can you just give us a little thumbnail sketch of the role that the Prosecutor's Office plays in law enforcement?
Sure. Each county, by constitution, has a county prosecutor, 21 counties, 21 prosecutors in the state of New Jersey, and we are the chief law enforcement officers of the county. Essentially, our main responsibilities are the prosecutions of felony indictable cases, but we also have a lot of roles that people don't understand in terms of our management responsibilities for local police agencies. So we have to manage each of the 44 law enforcement agencies that are in Morris County, as well as the municipal prosecutors. So as a chief law enforcement officer, an agency in the county, my main responsibility is to make sure that we're prosecuting cases, but we're also making sure that the police departments, as well as the prosecutors on the municipal courts, are acting in a constitutional way.
Now, your prosecutor's office consists of a number of different units. Some of those we probably think of immediately, like major crimes, a sex crimes unit. But then there's a unit that deals maybe almost exclusively with the good guys, and that would be the Community Affairs Unit. What can you tell us about this unit?
Well, in 2007, when we came into office, we noticed two, in our opinion, myself, First Assistant Prosecutor Zalante, and Chief Chavella, two major deficits in the office. The first was that we didn't have a functioning intelligence unit. When we have resources that are dwindling, but even before that started to happen, we believed that we needed to focus our resources in a proactive way by going after criminals, the most serious and violent offenders, those who impact the safety of the citizens the most. And intelligence and intelligence gathering and analyzing intelligence is a major function of that. So we felt that we were way behind the curve on that, and I believe statewide with county prosecutors' offices, the same thing existed there. But we also, so we started an intelligence unit the very first day we came into office, but we also started the Community Affairs Unit as a companion to the intelligence unit. And I think a lot of people kind of looked askance at this at first and were like, well, what does the Community Affairs vision have to do with intelligence? And essentially, in a nutshell, it's building bridges, coming off the ivory tower, getting down into the community, letting them see who we are, what we're about. And I think after September 11th, it was a good foundation for us to essentially say, look, you're our partners in law enforcement. We're going to do proactive educational programs through the Community Affairs Unit, but we're also asking you to be the eyes and ears. And if you can give us information that could help us with our intelligence unit in order to make those proactive arrests, we would appreciate it. And if I may go just a little bit further, you know, I think a lot of people didn't understand that connection when we first started. They were two new units, and I always used to say you got to crawl before you walk. And some of the successes, that information intelligence gathering that we've gotten from the community affairs events that we've gone out to, people who feel comfortable dialoguing with us. I'll give you just one anecdotal example. 2 or 3 individuals had identified a particular situation in an area of Morris County where they believed that there was gang, drugs, and gun-related activity. That the law enforcement community knew there was some activity going on, but they weren't sure specifically what it was. And based on that, we worked with the Community Affairs Unit and the Intelligence Unit to go out and do surveillances and see, is this a hot area? Is this an area we need to look into? The end analysis was, after a year and a half later of an investigation that included wiretaps and so on and so forth, we made the arrests of more gang members, seized more drugs, and took more guns off the street than in any operation in the past 10 years combined in one operation. And it just goes to show you how dialoguing with the community, that's just one of many examples, can really focus your law enforcement assets to where they need to be in order to protect the community better.
So the Community Affairs Unit does go out and participates in special community events. I know the Morristown Fall Festival, for example, is one of them. But then you also have devised a number of special programs that are geared toward individuals of all ages, I guess, from children to adults. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some of those. One, for example, is a program that covers internet safety for children and teens. What are some of the areas that this program covers?
Well, essentially the Community Affairs Unit, on the proactive piece of that, the non-intelligence gathering piece, is looking to what we call target-hardened people that are vulnerable in the public. So children with the internet, elderly people. There's various populations at certain times, and even ethnic and faith-based communities that are exposed to certain vulnerabilities based upon who they are and the status of who they are. So one of the main things that we were very concerned about was this internet issue with children, and essentially what we're trying to explain to people is really an education process for the child, but also the parent, and that became a huge factor here because the parents don't recognize that when they allow their child to have a computer. First of all, computer and access and unfettered access, and especially computers with most children that are in their bedrooms, they don't recognize that predators and people who would otherwise do harm to children are literally inside of their homes. And we have, for example, a unit that deals with internet predators, and it's a very progressive and aggressive unit. And we can go online right now and go into a chat room, and there will be somebody who is 45, 50 years old, posing to be a teenager, grooming these children. And so one of the things was an education piece to explain to the parents as well as the students that you have to be vigilant and careful about this. And that's just one of many kind of internet scams and safety issues that we educate through the community affairs program.
Another one is cyberbullying for children. This is a big issue these days, correct?
Sure. Well, we've been doing the cyberbullying program since 2007 before it became the flavor of the day. And, I always use this. Unfortunately, it seems that many times parents and students don't become attracted to a particular criminal issue until a tragedy occurs. And then when the tragedy occurs, then all of a sudden the auditoriums are packed with people. But when we started the cyberbullying program in 2007, we were very aggressive about that and trying to educate the kids in the sense of how damaging this could be, because there's no more boundaries left anymore. This cyberbullying is occurring online. It's brutal in terms of the psychological, unrelentless, constant 24/7 kind of attacks. It's a pouncing kind of environment, and those who are vulnerable to that obviously we're concerned about. And ultimately, a lot of these issues wind up becoming criminal law-related issues if it's not stopped ahead of time. But I think the most important part of that program on cyberbullying that we've been doing since 2007 was really educating the parents to take responsibility for their children. Because there's one thing that respectfully and I think anybody can understand this, is that we find a lot of times when these things wind up becoming criminal matters and the young person is charged with some sort of offense that stemmed from something that occurred for many, many months and nobody did anything about, when you listen to the parents' sometimes lack of responsibility for their own child, you can understand where it came from. So we're trying to educate those parents that before it becomes a problem, make sure that you're dialoguing with your children about this so that they're not a victim or that they don't become a defendant in a case.
Now, what about for adults who are not parents of young children or who have older children or who have no children? I know that there's a internet program, Internet Safety, specifically geared toward adults. What are some of the topics that this program deals with? Are we talking about like identity theft or things like that over the internet?
Yeah, I mean, you deal with we deal with the cyberbullying issue when we're dealing with the adults to educate them on that piece, and we also talk about the other ways that you could be victimized on the internet. You just mentioned one of them. There's a lot of fraud that occurs, but also there's a lot of with social media that's being used, Facebook and Twitter and all these things that we have, where people are making themselves vulnerable in terms of burglaries, and you see these things where we tell people don't put on your Facebook page that hey, can't wait for my vacation for the next 2 weeks in Hawaii, and then be surprised when you go there and your stuff in your house is gone.
Now, who presents these programs? Are these staff people, members of your prosecutor's office who actually go out and present these programs?
Yeah, I'm very proud of the staff because, something that people should know is that my people that go out 24/7, 364 days of the year, the only day they don't go out is on Christmas. I give them a break on that day. Is that these guys volunteer their time, nights, weekends. They don't ask for any pay. It's a combination of attorneys, our assistant prosecutors in our office, our detective staff, and myself personally, Chief Chavella personally. Chief Chavella right now is involved in a very proactive education program to, if you want a job in law enforcement, it's a multi-week program where they tell you how to go about it, interviewing processes, things like this. But those essentially are the people that do those programs. Detective Keisha Higgs from our office is the point person that runs these programs. Detective Mark Castellano is the one who goes out and, the famous Mark Castellano goes out and does all these cyberbullying programs, and a plethora of other people that go out in the various areas that have an expertise. And I'm really proud of those guys because they really do it because of a loyalty to doing the right thing and loyalty to the office for free. And
we've only, just talked about 2 or 3 of the programs that are offered. The prosecutor's office does put out an educational outreach bulletin that lists the number of programs, anything from crimes against the retired and the elderly to child ID kits to cyberbullying for educators. So these education programs are not only for kids, but they're for educators and for adults as well. Prosecutor Bianchi, what is some contact information if someone wanted to reach out to the office to perhaps schedule one of these programs?
Well, first let me just say that you can go online to morrisprosecutor.org and Morris County Prosecutor's Office. Even if you Google it, you get right on our website, and you can find the programs there, or you can call 973-285-6200. I would suggest that they reach out to Detective Keisha Higgs, Higgs, and I'd also want to say that program is just really more of a limiting thing. It hinders us more. We have fashioned many programs for the business community, for the faith-based communities, whatever it may be. If they're asking about target hardening issues, how not to make themselves victims of crimes, if they have a particular issue that they want to talk about, all people got to do is give us a call and we'll tweak a program specifically for them. And like I said, these individuals will go out there and it's never a problem. Nights or weekends will be there.
Once again, the telephone number for the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, if you're interested in finding out more about the Community Affairs Unit, is 973-285-6200. You may also visit the Prosecutor's Office website at www.morrisprosecutor.org. Prosecutor Robert Bianchi, I want to thank you very much for being with us today.
My pleasure, Joe. Thanks.
Now, if you have a question about county government that you would like to have answered, you can call the Morris County Freeholder's Office. That telephone number is 973-285-6010. You may also visit the county government on the web. That's morriscountynj.gov. And once you're there, please sign up for the county's electronic newsletter and also take advantage of the many social media that the Morris County government uses. I'm Joe Garifo. Thank you very much for being with us. Tune in again next week at this time, won't you, for another edition of Focus on Morris County.